Bryan, please do the honours.
Well, take out your mobile phone and text the word TEAM to 70705. Text messages will cost £5 plus your standard network charge. And £5 will go to children in need. For full terms and conditions, and to donate any amount you like, visit bbc.co.uk/Pudsey.
Yes,
well remembered. Well remembered. Brilliant.
Still got the brain.
Now, in a moment, we're going to talk to Bryan about a very special project which comes to fruition this Monday.
Which is, of course, Armistice Day, and the reason many of us are wearing these lovely poppies at the moment. But what's the story behind the poppy? Here's Mike.
When it comes to symbolising war and remembrance, there's just one flower that stands out. The poppy. And every year, millions of these are sold to remember those lost in battle. During World War I, the poppy was the one flower that grew amongst the devastation, inspiring one soldier to write a famous poem. Helen Hill is the head of remembrance for the Royal British Legion.
Well, it all started about 100 years ago when John McCrae, who was a Canadian Army medic, lost a friend in battle and sat down the next day rather sadly and wrote a very famous poem called In Flanders Fields, which begins, "In Flanders Fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row."
The Royal British Legion was formed in 1921 and adopted the poppy as a symbol of remembrance and hope. This, of course, is the poppy that everyone recognises from today, but you've got the most amazing, beautiful poppy. This was one of the very first made, is that right?
That's right, it's from the early 1920s and it's botanically quite correct, as you can see.
Lovely though it is, I have to say, this slightly trumps it for me, because this is a pressed poppy from Flanders and it says, picked on Flanders battlefields, 1917 by W. Pond. That's remarkable.
I know, absolutely, and his daughter very kindly gave that to us. It was found in his pockets in his pay book when he was hit by shrapnel, but he did survive the First World War and he lived on to be a father and grandfather.
But what do we know about these flowers? Why did they bloom after all that carnage? And what's the story here in Britain? Famous for its wildflowers, Ranscombe Farm in Kent is one of the best places to see many of the species of poppy we have in the UK. They're encouraged to grow by manager Richard Moyes, and the time to see them is in the summer. And what is it about poppies and battlefields that always seem inextricably linked?
Well, poppies are great survivors and great opportunists, and they produce vast amounts of seed, and that seed can live for many decades in the soil, 50, 60 years, until the ground is disturbed, brings the seeds to the surface, and then they'll germinate and flower. So in battles like the First World War, when you've got this tremendous bomb damage, poppies took advantage of that bare space to come up and do what they do.
There are 8 species of wild poppy in the UK, with only 2 being truly native. Some arrived in Britain thousands of years ago. The rough, opium, and the common poppy we're so familiar with. Most poppies are very resilient plants that have evolved to push and fight their way through crops and other competition. But there are also some tender species that prefer a more solitary existence. This is prickly poppy and I'm really chuffed to see it because it's incredibly rare. It's only found in the southeast of England on chalk and it can't stand competition, which is why it's growing on its own. You'll also notice as well, there are no petals whatsoever on the plant. That's because it flowers first thing in the morning, and by midday, all the petals have fallen off. Time-lapse cameras were set up to record this morning event, as this is the only time this plant will flower in its short life. It will then spread just a couple of hundred seeds, unlike the common poppy, which distributes as many as 60,000. It's hard to imagine any single plant that has such strong symbolism and imagery associated with it as the common poppy. But knowing what to do now about what a tough little survivor this plant is, I can't help but think it has to be just the perfect choice.
Great film. And much tougher to grow than you imagine, poppies, aren't they?
I've never tried.
I've tried. They're tough. I'm telling you, they're tough. Rubble is the key. Right, Corporal Simon Brown joins Bryan Adams on the sofa right now. Welcome to the show, Simon.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you in just a sec, but Fern's going to kick off with Bryan.
Definitely. Now, Bryan, we want to talk about this new and amazing special project that you have got on the go at the moment. Tell us about it.
Well, 5 years ago, we started doing photographs of wounded veterans coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan with the idea that perhaps it would be an exhibition or something. And it was brought to me by a journalist called Carolyn Froggatt, who's the co-author of the book. And we didn't really think it was going to be a book. We didn't know exactly what was going to happen. It was around the same time that the Help for Heroes were starting off. There was a bit of a movement happening with helping the veterans that were coming through. But here we are 5 years later, and we've got this book finished. It's called Wounded, The Legacy of War. And we've got Simon here, who's one of the subjects in the book, and he can tell you a little bit about it. But, you know, it comes out on Monday, Remembrance Day, which is the perfect time.
Definitely. Simon, tell us about your story then.
Well, yeah, I became a candidate for the book 2006 in Iraq. I went in to rescue 6 colleagues under fire. I got the 6 colleagues out, but unfortunately, sniper picked me off on the way out. The bullet went in my left cheek, came out my right cheek, and obviously ruined my Wednesday. Fortunately, because it didn't knock me out, I was able to do my own first aid for 20 minutes. Kept myself alive and calm. Didn't realise how badly injured I was. Next thing I knew, when the medics got hold of me, I woke up in Birmingham 3 weeks later to the news that I'd lost my left eye completely, and I was only going to have 20% vision left in my right eye. So obviously you can imagine a bit of a dark time then.
Yeah, no, of course. And then, so how did you get involved with Bryan and the book?
They got in touch with me. I'd done some of the bits and pieces. My name came up. They asked me to go down, and next thing you know, I'm sat in the kitchen with Bryan Adams stood behind me going,
Not bad.
we're going to do some pictures then.
How bizarre.
Yeah, it's not somewhere you see yourself being. It's
Now,
not a statement I expected.
And you know, to turn injuries like this on their head almost, you know, because in the past, you know, certain people, certain organisations have sort of tried to keep this kind of thing quiet. You've done the opposite, haven't you?
Yeah, I think there is, you know, on Remembrance Day, we always sort of bow our heads to the fallen, but you know, I think we need to pay more attention to the people that are alive as well, and that's really the object of this book, is to get more awareness to the wounded soldiers.
And how was it looking through the book after, Simon, after you'd seen the whole project completed?
It was amazing. I mean, all the way through the project, we've been treated with dignity and respect by Bryan, which, you know, obviously made us more comfortable during the photography. And you just look at every picture, it tells a story that you don't really see, and it is graphic. You know, they are serious injuries and scars, but with the way the pictures are taken and with the sort of sidelines, you just realise that these are people. You know, we wear the scars, they don't wear us. And I'm very, very proud to be part of this project, and very hopeful about what it's going to open up to the rest of the country and hopefully the world, eh, Bryan?
I hope so, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Bryan, what did you learn from the whole process, from the 5-year project?
Wow, I mean, every time someone came in, it was either someone that couldn't speak, couldn't walk, couldn't see. You know, the youngster right there, you know, he's only 19 years old, both his legs blown off, his hand, the arm blown off. You know, and you learn to deal with people that have serious disability, and that only happens from actually having the experience. So in some ways, when I look at the book now, I wish I'd had that experience before going into it, but how would you ever? You know, you have to go and go for it. And working with these guys was fantastic. I mean, aside from the fact that there's a very serious nature to this book, you know, they're very good humored, and there's a great camaraderie. I think the camaraderie is really probably what got them through the whole ordeal in the first place. But I do want to say the other thing about most of these chaps, when they come back, they have to deal with another battle, which is dealing with their new lives as wounded soldiers, and we must remember, and that's a big part of why the book's here, and coming out on Remembrance Day. Remember the wounded.
Okay, round of applause. Come on, it's a great project. Bryan, all the guys and girls, thank you so much for sharing your story, Simon and Bryan, for the project itself. Wounded, The Legacy of War is available on Armistice Day this Monday, and proceeds will be shared amongst 5 very, very worthy charities.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.